America, Pennsylvania, December 23, 2021. Two CIA agents discuss a job whose purpose is to keep an eye on a man on a ship, due to orders from the CIA and the White House. Their department has been watching him for 69,457 hours, 10 minutes to 8 years. Suddenly, one of the agents notices the target's ship increasing its speed and sailing away from the safe house. Then he says code red, alerting his superiors on the phone. The White House and the CIA immediately caught on and sent their agents to intercept. Surrounding the subject of the surveillance, the agents immediately demanded that he return to the safe zone. In response, he demanded to speak to their chief, saying it was an order. Gritting his teeth, the agent handed the phone to the man, whereupon he called the president. After greeting the angry president, the man reminded him that every arrangement has an expiration date. He had done enough for him over the last few years, and now he just wanted to go to his native land and smoke a cigar. After that, the man added that he knows that the president is informed about the state of his health and the drugs he takes, and that doctors have already informed him about the progression of his disease. Then he proposed to make a final deal, the purpose of which is to deactivate 16 stolen nuclear warheads in 3 months, with the condition that during these months no one will not touch him, and his devils lie low, completely disappearing from the world. Otherwise, boom would happen. When he got the answer, he handed the phone back to the agent and told him to open the champagne. After all, under the threat of nuclear catastrophe, the president had agreed to the deal, to which the disgruntled agent filled him in on how he had served the man for the past 8 years and that he should have gone to the underworld a long time ago, calling the man Lucifer. Complaining about the stupid name, the man replied that he preferred to be called Yanluo, Lord of Hell. Telling Yanluo that he had nowhere to run, the agent was about to give the order to capture the target. After which, Yanluo sat on a rock saying that a person like him couldn't be caught, and even the White House had already realized everything. Cancer cells had spread throughout his brain and the tumor was getting bigger by the second. If he was still fit, he'd be drugged. When he lit his cigar, he said he had 5. Afraid that the Lord of Hell might have an ace up his sleeve, the agent scattered. After counting to 0, Yanluo lit a cigarette and said, "Underworld. I'm coming. London." Exiting the building, a businessman was shot dead. Target eliminated, reported a girl with a huge soul whose code name was Firefly. Walking to the car, she told Fox that the toy wasn't bad, just lacked the speed of the shot. Getting into the car, Firefly started complaining about recycling, to which Foxy replied that jobs don't wake up anymore and they all go into sleep mode, forever answering Firefly's question. Firefly, getting angry at the absurdity of the order, was preparing to call the boss, to which Foxy replied that the boss had recorded this order in the voice chat an hour ago. Whereupon Firefly started screaming that it was all a lie, for during her time on the job she knew what he was like. After saying that the boss was really dead, Foxy gave his last words, "I hope you all go to heaven, but I can only go to the underworld," after which she said goodbye and 3 shots were fired from the other side. As she got out of the car, Firefly started shooting into the sky in tears. After firing the entire clip, she pulled out a knife, then followed the boss into the underworld. Before doing so, she left a message in the chat room saying Firefly is offline. South America. Enjoying wine while delivering a prisoner by airplane, Colibri learned from Foxy that the boss was dead. Upon hearing this, she decided to go to the underworld by crashing the plane into a mountain. The hummingbird has gone off the grid. Blueberries off the grid. Iris has gone off the grid. After informing everyone of Yanluo's death, Foxy held the gun to her head in tears, saying Foxy, out of the net. She closed her eyes, then pulled the trigger. All of Yanluo's devils ended their lives. December 23, 2000. Waking up from the noise, the guy blurred a blurry vision of a school classroom. He was awakened by the teacher, who suggested him to solve an example on the blackboard. Under the gaze of the students waiting for the answer, he tried to understand what was going on. Then he realized that he had really gone to the underworld, because he had returned to his teenage years. School. In gym class, a student threw the ball into the hoop playing basketball while being cheered on by his classmates. At the same time, Yanluo was kicked out of class by the teacher to think about his behavior in class. Thinking about his return to his teenage years, Yanluo sighed and reached up to the sky, saying that God had given him a reward rather than a punishment. Suddenly, someone shouted that the first beauty of the school had jumped off the roof. Immediately realizing Yanluo saw her falling not far from him and jumped to the rescue, catching the girl. Her name was Sun Cuckoo. Immediately after her rescue, Yanluo and Sun Cuckoo were sent to the principal's office. While looking at the first beauty of the school, Yanluo was thinking that she was lucky to fall from the 2nd floor, because if she had fallen from the 3rd floor, things might have ended up differently. Suddenly, behind them, the principal coughed to dispel the awkward silence. The principal's name was Sun Chengli. After bringing the boys to their senses, he went into his office and asked the boys if they had been to the school doctor, and if they were doing well. Calling a guy by the name of Chen replied that everything was fine because he was in the right place and Sun Ke had fallen on him, asking if he could now be called her savior. Ignoring the student's question, the principal asked Sun Ke how she came to jump off the roof, to which she replied that she fell while looking at me, calling the principal his father, which surprised Chen because they were not alike. After hearing this, the principal thanked the boy for saving his daughter, and said that he could leave today's class. He asked if Chen had been to the hospital and if he should call one of his guardians. Chen politely declined the principal's offer, to which the principal said he could excuse himself from school at any time if he was sick. Reaching for the doorknob, Chen remembered something. He turned to the principal and asked him for 50 yuan to go home, adding that he had a headache. Finding Chen's house by his student card, he noticed the terrible condition of the house, then went into his apartment. Upon entering the apartment, the first thing he did was to look at the picture of the boy with his grandmother, after which he immediately searched the house for any document. From the documents he learned that he was reborn as a schoolboy of 18 years old, whose parents divorced early. 6 years ago, his mother married a new man, leaving her son with his grandmother and a few yuan. After 3 years, his mother and her new husband went into debt because of gambling, while the son and his grandmother lived like in prison. And a year ago he lost his grandmother too, leaving him all alone. Even though he tried to keep up, he was an outcast at school. Yanluo was happy to hear this information, because his lack of social connections would keep him out of trouble. Suddenly, Yanluo remembered something and looked at the calendar, talking about the 25th day. After a while, Chen searches the internet about how to get to Seoul in 15 days. But his search was unsuccessful. He remembers that in 15 days at 12 p.m., a girl will be in the worst tragedy of her life. Yanluo wants to save her, but he has no money for a ticket, no passport, no nothing. He thinks there's no way for a simple guy to get there. After searching on the internet, he returned home and tried to move the water in the glass with his strength until midnight, but not a drop of water shook. At the same time, Sun Ke was listening to music and thinking that love takes courage, so she would tell him anything. Remembering how she looked at Yanluo and fell off the roof, Kiki blushed, then looked at the letter lying in the book. It was a love letter from Chen. Chen thought about the fact that he had been reborn into a guy with the same name as him, while going back in time. Thinking about what the real he was doing, Chen dialed the number, but only heard a message that he had entered an invalid number. After the call, Chen went to the house he lived in as a child and knocked on the door. A fat man came out of the house, asking the stranger who he was looking for. He then began to reflect on the fact that everything had changed. His phone number didn't work. The house he lived in wasn't his. As he held out the money for cigarettes to the saleswoman, he noticed that she was the only one who was the same. And even the fat man standing next to him who had humiliated him as a child was the same. Thinking about where he is in this world, Chen realized that everything is the same, and only he has disappeared from this world. Resenting this, Chen pointed his finger at the sky and shouted to the author to go to him, because he decided that Chen is so ordinary that he cannot be described. Then he saw a star in the sky. It was a huge pencil that almost fell on Chen. After getting out of the crater, the pencil asked the guy not to worry, because in the future they will explain everything about the intricacies of his life. And then standing up in a cool pose he said, "Watch my story." The next day, walking through the school, Sun Ke heard gossip about Chen writing her a love letter. The peers called Chen a role model, as he's not even afraid of the principal breaking his legs. Embarrassed by what she heard, Cuckoo walked to Chen's classroom. When she saw him writing something, she went up to him and asked him to give her a minute of his time. Chen asked her what she wanted, to which she replied that he had recently given her a letter of confession and she was very pleased, but she couldn't accept it. Hearing this, Chen thought that the previous owner of the body was not so bad, since he had hit on the director's daughter. Seeing Chen's hesitation, Sun Ke immediately brought him to his senses by telling him once again that she did not accept him and that he should not do such things again, to which Chen only agreed. Then Chen added that they are still schoolchildren. For them the main thing is to study, to which Chen again agreed, while asking how many points she has for the entrance. After hesitating a bit, Cuckoo answered 196. Chen then said that she should still study the material. After all, as he remembered, not many people get a passing grade. After thinking about it, he put his hand on her shoulder and wished her success in her studies. Cuckoo's heart snapped at the feeling that it wasn't she who rejected Chen, but he rejected her. After the lesson began, Teacher Chen made an announcement that the Indian Olympiad was scheduled for the 10th of next month, and that it was possible to register now. Then he added that the registration required a guardian's signature and money for the trip. After thinking about the route, Chen realized that from Yanbian he could get to Goryeo and from there to Seoul. Immediately he raised his hand and asked if everyone could sign up, to which the teacher grinningly asked him if he wanted to participate in the math Olympiad. Chen asked if there were no other Olympiads, making his classmates laugh. The teacher asked him to look at the information on the stand and then started the lesson. After the class was over, while Chen was sleeping, his classmates were talking about something for which they could be taught. When Chen woke up after the lesson, he yawned and said that the school was quite boring. When Chen woke up, his classmates approached him and offered him to play slot machines with them. Chen agreed, saying that after a good night's sleep, you can move around, and went with them. KO! After losing another run, Chen said that this is not interesting, and that he will no longer play. Suddenly someone put his hand on his shoulder. Then an unknown guy asked if he was Chen, and suggested going outside to discuss something. Entering the alley, the guy told Chen's frightened classmates that they could leave. Seeing this, Chen asked what they wanted. Ignoring this, the stranger said his name was Xiao Dao, but he could just call him Dao. Then said about the love letter that Chen had written to Sun Cuckoo. Angry, he asked if Chen had decided to hit on his girlfriend. After fantasizing about how weird the school's first hottie and a thug would look, Chen asked if she was Dao's girlfriend. Dao replied that she's not his girlfriend right now, but she will be. Pulling out a knife and asking if Chen knew what was waiting for him, while calling him a trifle, Dao demanded a quick answer, to which Chen replied that he knew what was waiting for him, because such a deserted place was perfect for it. It was already 8 p.m. Sun Cuckoo decided to take dinner to her father, who was late at work. Walking to school, she saw Chen doing something with the bikes in the bike parking lot. Wondering what he was doing, she approached him from behind and asked him why he was taking the locks off other people's bikes. Upon hearing this question, Chen turned around and replied that she wouldn't believe him if he asked which one belonged to him. After hearing this, Sun Cuckoo immediately refused and turned around to leave. Chen immediately called her back to ask her a question, because of which Sun Cuckoo thought that regardless of the question, she should behave calmly and not show emotion. Chen told her that she could treat him a little more gently. He understood that as the headmaster's daughter, she should be a model student and not hang around suspicious types, but with him she could be less hostile and cold. To which he was immediately heard asking if it was too much to ask. Chen replied that she wasn't bad, because he understood that she had little experience in communication, which made her refuse, calling it rather childish behavior, embarrassing Sun Cuckoo. After all, he did save her life, to which he heard the answer that the second floor is not that high, and it is unlikely that anything serious would have happened to her. Chen said that although nothing serious had happened to her, he had still helped her even if it was an accident. Sun Cuckoo couldn't refute these words. Chen then asked her if she knew Zhang Sun under the alias Xiao Dao. Sun Cuckoo replied that she did, because he had repeatedly guarded her outside the school. Chen no shocked Sun Cuckoo by saying that she didn't have to worry about him anymore, because he wouldn't be able to bother her anytime soon. He added that he wouldn't be a bother for now, because multiple fractures take a long time to heal. Apchi, sneered Zhang Sun, realizing that he had only fallen ill when he got to the hospital. Chen said that he did not expect gratitude. After all, he had also done it for his own benefit, then asked if Sun Cuckoo had heard about the event in seeing Chen going to break other people's locks. Sun Cuckoo asked why he was asking about the event. Immediately after, she demanded that he stop breaking other people's locks, while pointing at his bicycle and describing what it looked like. It was a black bike, with a rusty basket and only one working horn. Chen asked how she knew that, since they don't even study in the same group. To which an embarrassed Sun Cuckoo replied that she just knew. To dispel the awkwardness, she asked why he was asking about the event, to which Chen replied that he wanted to sign up, but he didn't fit the requirements. He then told a surprised Sun Cuckoo that he just wanted to see the snow and her father, the principal, could help him with that. Thinking that looking at the snow sounded a bit mature, Sun Cuckoo decided that he was just joking while shrugging her lips in embarrassment. Blushing slightly, Chen guessed that Sun Cuckoo did not even realize that such actions are like a knife to the guy's heart, and so behaved dangerously. Immediately after that, a loud rumbling sound followed from his stomach. Sun Cuckoo asked if he had eaten dinner yet, to which he replied that he hadn't eaten dinner because he didn't have money for food. Noticing that Chen didn't look like himself, Sun Cuckoo said she knew he was having a hard time, but not that hard, then suggested he talk to his father for a quota, adding that she didn't mean to insult him. Noticing that Sun Cuckoo knew too much about him, he asked if she had looked for information about him. She replied embarrassedly that she had heard it all from people around her. Chen then noticed the dinner in Son Cuckoo's hands and asked if she had anything tasty, to which she replied that it was for her father. After which Chen only showed a hungry smile. After saying goodbye to Son Cuckoo, he left for home enjoying a chicken leg on the way. Cuckoo's father noticed that there was a chicken leg missing from the dinner, then asked where it had gone, to which Cuckoo could only say nothing. After returning home, Chen immediately started physical training. After all, to get to the right place, he needs to be in good shape. The water in the glass shook. The next day, standing at the entrance to the study area, Chen pondered that Teacher Lee is from the employees of the study area, because of which he is sure that the company that sent him and organized the trip. Entering Teacher Lee's office, he pondered that Teacher Lee would be able to help him with his plan. Seeing his student, Lee asked why he had come to see him. Chen replied that he had not had time to sign up for the trip and that he had heard about quotas for some students. Teacher Lee replied that quotas are given only to selected students, and to get it you need the signature and recommendation of the principal. Hearing this, Chen put an envelope on the table, surprising the teacher. Surprised, the teacher opened the envelope and saw a bank card in it, then immediately remembered that there are still places for volunteers. The robot of volunteers is to do some errands, to which Chen immediately agreed. Only the teacher began to list the documents that are needed for the trip. Chen immediately held out a pile of papers to Teacher Lee. Then the teacher let the student go, warning that the list of students he could see on the bulletin board. While thinking that Chen is not so simple. After school, Son Cuckoo walked out of school upset that she had only gotten 45 points. She raised her fist and promised that next time she wouldn't fail the exam. After that, she lost her motivation because her average score was 60 points. Suddenly she heard her fellow students discussing the list of those who would go to the Olympiad. Remembering the words about Chen wanting to see the snow, Son Cuckoo looked at the list and saw Chen's name on it. Surprised that he was actually on the list, Son Cuckoo immediately ran to her father. Running into his office, she immediately told him that she wanted to go on the trip. The surprised principal asked why she had changed her mind since she wasn't interested before. Son Cuckoo replied that she just wanted to see the snow. The principal told her that the seats were taken, so she grabbed his sleeve and said she would go with the school choir. Son Cuckoo's father reminded her that she used to hate singing in the choir and so on, to which she replied that she liked it now. January 3rd. Platform of Jinling Railway Station. Upon arriving at the platform with her luggage, Son Cuckoo immediately began to look around. Chen was walking towards the volunteers when suddenly he saw Son Cuckoo waving at it. Chen approached her to help her with her luggage, but the luggage was intercepted by the director, which Chen could only wonder about. Once on the train, Chen asked Son Cuckoo how she could join the trip since her name was not on the list, to which she replied that it was none of his business. When asked what she was going to do in Yanbian, Son Cuckoo said she wanted to see the snow too. Seeing his daughter talking to the guy in the train window, the director could only be angry that he wasn't leading the trip. The train moved on. Chen lay and read a book, when suddenly Teacher Lee, who was lying on the next shelf, asked him to bring him a drink and pack his luggage, asking him not to damage the camera in his bag. To which Chen only ignored the teacher, after which he once again tried to call the student. Putting down his book, Chen replied that he was only here to travel and not as a laborer, which made the teacher angry. Chen added that he had given the teacher a payment for the trip, and if he was not satisfied, the teacher could give him a receipt. He then suggested that the teacher talk to the guide to drop him off at the next stop so he could return to school on his own. Saying that Chen was a difficult child, the principal took the cigarette the student handed him to calm down. After smoking the cigar, the teacher was immediately angry because it wasn't a cigarette. Yanbian Station. Pulling the luggage out of the train, Son Cuckoo asked herself what was happening to her. After all, she only went on the trip because of this guy. Right after that, someone grabbed the handle of her luggage. It was Chen, who immediately threw her a can of soda. Looking at Chen leading with her luggage, Son Cuckoo smiled and then ran up to him to go together. In the inn building, Teacher Luo shouted at his Chen, who was about to leave the group. He forbade him to even think about it, because if something happened to him, the teacher would be blamed. Chen took out his phone and turned on a recording where he said about the fare, and suggested that the teacher talk to the guide so that he would let Chen out at the next stop and he would return to school on his own. To which the teacher said he was a difficult child. Terrified, the teacher immediately began to threaten the student, telling him to play with him and threatening to kick him out of the group, because if he played the tape to anyone, they would both get in trouble. Kneeling down, the teacher begged Chen not to set him up, offering the student 200 yuan to go out. Immediately afterwards, the angry teacher said that Chen could have offered more power to persuade him. Chen yelped and beat up the teacher, who begged the student to let him go. Chen told the teacher that he had nothing to worry about, as he just wanted to say that he was leading the group. Helping the teacher up, Chen said that the teacher could help with his concealment. He then left, wishing the sobbing teacher good luck. 36 hours later, the border between South and North Korea. Chen surveyed the border from his hiding place. Late night, -17 degrees. After inspecting the border, Chen immediately ran to the base bypassing the searchlights as he was suddenly spotted by a border guard. Calling Chen an intruder, he immediately reached for his gun, giving Chen no time to get up and knock himself out. Immediately after, Chen grabbed the knocked-out border guard and carried him off to a secluded spot. One of the border guards on the tower noticed something flashing in the spotlight. His partner replied that it was probably a bird, and if someone did slip past their view they would be captured immediately. Chen lay under the observation tower and cut the barbed wire, thinking that his body was still too weak. Then he refueled his calories by eating a chocolate bar and began preparations to pass the minefield. Looking at the map, Chen thought about how difficult this field might be for others, but not for him. After all, he had done missions here many times in his past life. Then he continued through the minefield, crawling through the field. Suddenly he lost his balance, hitting a mine in the process. Remembering the model of the mine and its characteristics, Chen thought about how he would not get hurt, thinking about the structure of the mine, because if he was careless the mine would explode. Chen cut off a small piece from the inside of the school uniform to leave the mine pressurized, and carefully put it under his leg, while being afraid that it might explode. Immediately afterward he pinned the cloth to the rocks with. Having successfully secured the cloth, Chen took out a pencil and broke off the lead, sweating with excitement, and inserted the lead into the fuse of the mine. At the same time, the same song choir was performing, Sun Cuckoo. Looking at the audience seats, she was angry at Chen, thinking that she had not seen him for 2 days. After the operation of disarming the mine, Chen thought that it should be enough. He replaced the pin with a pencil rod, and pressurized the mine with a piece of cloth. Looking up into the sky, Chen thought that with the double protection the mine should not explode. After all, the god had not brought him back to kill him so easily. Preparing himself, Chen jumped to the side, immediately after which he pressed himself against the ground waiting for the mine to explode. As the mine did not explode, he stood up saying that there would probably be 2 mines on the southern border as well. He then stretched and ran to the trench where he would probably not be noticed. Suddenly 2 military men jumped into the trench. Surprised, one of the military men immediately prepared to draw his weapon. Chen realized and immediately jumped towards the military man, knocking him down. With his other hand he pulled out a knife and threw it at the other military man. The last thing the soldier saw was the schoolboy throwing a knife at him. After getting rid of one of the soldiers, Chen turned around to his partner whom he had knocked over earlier. The soldier managed to get up and, threatening with a knife, suggested Chen to attack him, saying get off. Chen lightning rushed to the soldier, killing him with a pin, then said that he did not arrogant. Chen disguised himself as a soldier, with the idea that with this disguise he could get past the South Korean border guards, then walked away leaving the bodies of the soldiers on the ground. January 6, 2001. The time is 15:00. After reaching South Korea, Chen stopped a cab telling the driver to go to Apgujeong. Afterward, he thought about a mission from his past life, the purpose of which was to assassinate business tycoon Ha Jun-jae. Ha Jun-jae's villa. On this mission, he first met Lee Ingwan, who was 22 years old. After dealing with the guards, Chen opened the door to the boss's room. Then he saw Ha Jun-jae being attacked by a girl in bed, holding a gun to his head. The girl looked at the surprised intruder, thinking he was a security guard, then pulled the trigger. Chen was unable to stop her. Hearing the gunshot, the guards ran to intercept the intruder. Chen tied up the girl and tried to carry her out of the building, but they were surrounded. Chen immediately drew his gun and started shooting the guards, dodging their shots. After a while, in a wooden cottage in the middle of the forest, Chen let the girl go, then explained to her that this was his safe place where no one would find them. Back then, Lee Ingwan was a crazy person with mental paranoia. Hearing this, the girl immediately tried to seduce Chen. After Chen slightly bent over, Lee Ingwan immediately tried to knock him down, but was knocked out by Chen's one punch. Upon waking up, Lee Ingwan realized that Chen had tied her up and stuffed a piece of cloth in her mouth. He then lit a cigar and told her to be quiet. The next day, while untying Lee Ingwan, Chen asked if she had calmed down and if she wanted to die. After which she asked why he saved her. Was it because she was beautiful, or did he want to sleep with her? After saying that, Chen put the barrel to the girl's neck and said that she was like a little girl who was consumed by anger and hatred while she was reckless, violent, and rude. After saying this, Li Yingwang realized that Chen was quite strong and very skillful, for last night he was able to interrupt the guards and carry her away. To which he replied that there weren't many people in the world who could match him. Hearing this, Li Yingwang bowed on her knees and asked that Chen kill a few more people, for that she would do anything for him, even give herself to him. Prayed Li Yingwang with her hand on her chest, remembering her family. For the next 2 years, Li Yingwang trained with Chen in martial arts and shooting. 2 years later, it was raining. Li Yingwang killed a certain man. While passers-by were confused, Li Yingwang ran away from the scene, then started sobbing loudly while holding a picture of her family. Chen approached her from behind and sheltered her from the rain with an umbrella. When Li Yingwang opened her eyes, she saw Chen trying to wake her up, and he said that it was the first time he had seen someone sobbing in their sleep. After saying that, Li Yingwang grabbed his sleeve and asked Chen to sit beside her when she was sleeping. After all, she was afraid that if she woke up in the middle of the night and didn't see Chen, she might shoot herself. To which he, hesitating, hummed. Li Yingwang decided to tell him about her past. That night it was dark, windy and cold. My mom was scolding my brother for fighting at school. Suddenly they burst in. First they killed her father and took all their assets. Then they killed her brother, who had been her guardian since she was a little girl. And only then they brutally killed her mother. Then the guy who killed her mother dragged Li Yingwang into the house and abused her next to the sunflowers her mother had planted. When Chen asked why she wasn't killed, Li Yingwang replied that they wanted to lock her up, perhaps because she was beautiful. But she was able to escape from them by jumping into the river. Chen asked what happened afterward, to which Li Yingwang replied that after she escaped, she found a friend of her father's who took her in. That same night, he abused her and handed her over to the killers. While he was on the phone, she poked him in the eye with her wand. What happened next she chose not to talk about. Chen crying said that before she met Chen, she had lived in hell from the age of 16 to 22. She would only live because he let her, and she would die if he told her to. She promised that she would obey any of his orders without question, even if it was to kill someone. Putting her hand on her heart, Li Yingwang continued by saying that for a very long time her world had been completely dark, and the only light she had met in all that time was from Chen. Chen said that he was not the only one, because there was light in everything. He told her not to let the darkness overpower her. To which Li Yingwang replied that everyone can shine on their own, even if they are weak. No one should put their hope in others. Chen said for her to learn to shine her own light. And from today he will start calling her Firefly. "Sir, we're here," said the cab driver to a thoughtful passenger, whereupon Chen got out of the cab, continuing on his way. Exiting the building, Li Yingwang bumped into a man, immediately after which she cursed. Chen grabbed her by the ear and said that such a girl should not use swear words. When asked who he was, Chen lifted his cap and said, "Hello, Firefly." Surprised at being called Firefly, Li Yingwang asked who he was and what he was doing here. Upon hearing this question, Chen put on Li Yingwang's hood and replied that he was the man who fell from the sky and that he had come to help her get rid of her nightmares. After which, the embarrassed Li Yingwang smiled for a moment and hit Chen's weak spot with her knee. After hitting him, she immediately ran away screaming that she was being chased by a pervert. Then she saw a policeman and immediately ran up to him. Describing the situation, Li Yingwang pointed in the direction where Chen had just been, but he disappeared. January 6, 2001. Time 18:00. National Intelligence Agency. South Korea's Intelligence Command's 7 officials were discussing the secret military operation conducted last night. 2 people sent on the mission were killed. Only a pen and a knife were found at the scene. Also, AM2 mine was found 300 meters to the north, defused by special equipment. The man who told about it said that all documents on this case were sent to everyone present. Then he said that it was an enemy agent from the north, and to protect the country, an order was given to search for North Korean agents who had infiltrated their country. At the end of the discussion, the ranks shouted the oath. At the same time, north of the border, the Secret Border Command. The chief of the Border Command announced to the ranks that the enemy from the north had infiltrated their country and that martial law was being declared in the camp. While ordering a search of the camp, the entire area, he said they must capture the enemy to prevent the plot, whereupon he ordered those who were patrolling that night to be captured and shot. Achoo! Chen sneezed, sitting on the roof of the building, then crunched a chocolate bar. Chewing the candy bar, Chen remembered that he forgot to buy a drink. Then he smelled a pleasant aroma. It was chicken soup. Leaning down from the roof, Chen heard a mother telling her son off for fighting at school, to which his sister snidely showed her tongue and laughed, making Chen, who was watching them, smile. Suddenly, Chen heard a car stop near the house, from which people armed to the teeth began to get out. When he saw them, he realized that the assassination attempt on Li Yingwang's family had begun. Armed men in black suits came to the door. Knock on the door. A man opened the door, seeing Sun Cuckoo on the other side. Teacher Li asked her what is she doing here so late. Sun Cuckoo asked the man, where is Chen? After all, she hadn't seen him in 2 days. Not wanting to look like the principal pretended he didn't know what she was talking about because he had just woken up. Sun Cuckoo said she needed to find Chen to talk to him. Teacher Li told her that it was quite late and everyone was asleep at that moment, dialing a number behind his back. Raising the phone to his ear, he greeted the principal and then wanted to say something about his daughter, scaring Sun Cuckoo. She quietly asked the teacher not to tell her father that she was here at night and immediately ran away. Closing the door, Teacher Li fell on the floor and sobbed because of how difficult it is for him with his students. Li Yingwang's house. The armed men entered the house and immediately ran to the room where Li Yingwang was sitting with her family. The older brother immediately demanded an explanation. Who were they? The man in black kicked him with his foot, after which their main ones entered the room. They were Ha Zhonghee, Che Tin, and Che Gahan. While glancing at their victim, watching through the window, Chen recognized the man Li Yingwang had once killed. The story of their feud started about a year ago. Ha Zhonghee and Li's father were in the shipping business. In 2000, their business took a turn for the worse, after which they became interested in brothers Che Din and Che Gahan, who were secretly involved in usury, drugs, and the black business of buying and selling organs. President Ha joined those two, but Father Li refused. In the end, President Ha teamed up with the brothers and left the Li family. President Ha punched Li's brother, after which Che Tin grabbed Li Yingwang. Chen outside the window looked at the clock, waiting for the right time. Looking at Li Yingwang, Che Tin achidically licked his lips while calling her very beautiful. At the same moment, Li and Ha heard a noise outside the window. After letting go of Li Yingwang, Che Tin went to the window while asking what was wrong, whereupon his brother told him that a fire truck was coming. Che Gahan said that they couldn't stay here any longer, ordering the people to leave the mansion. Watching the criminals leave, Chen was glad that there was an empty house in the neighborhood where he could activate the fire alarm. Descending from the roof, Chen thought about the fact that at this time, Li's father was already dead, and the only thing he could do was to save the widow and orphan. Thinking that it would not be easy, Chen thought that it would be easier to kill all of them at once, but a large number of corpses would only cause trouble for Li's family, so he should change the place. Chen ran into the garage and took a white Audi to catch up with the criminals. As he drove away from the crime scene, Ha Zhonghee recalled how Li Donghyuk was killed. In the past, he often scolded him like a dog, got more money, reputation, and status, and even took the woman he loved, after which he had 2 children. Che Gahan handed Director Ha a cigarette, asking if he had a guilty conscience. Then he lit a cigar and said that when they reached their destination, the woman would belong to Ha Yunghee completely. After lighting a cigar, Ha Yunghee said that he wanted to enjoy not only his wife, but also his daughter, adding that even in hell Li Donghyuk would be a loser. Then he threw the cigar butt out the window. An abandoned factory in Seoul. The mother of Li's family begged to let their family go because of their old friendship with Li Donghyuk, to which Ha Yunghee only smirked evilly, holding a whip in his hands, while making them sob even louder. Ha Zhonghee swung the whip, giving time for Li's mother to cover the dinny from the beating, receiving a whiplash on her back. After which she asked why is he doing this, what have they done to him, and that she felt sorry for him, for his heart was completely rotten. Taking advantage of the commotion, Li's son jumped out of his mother's embrace, after which he jumped on Principal Ha, getting hit in the face, after which he started to be beaten by the guards. At this time, a sobbing Li Yingwang begged for someone to wake her up, and then she remembered the guy she saw during the day. Who is he? And what is he doing? He replied that he was a man who fell from the sky to help her get rid of bad dreams. Suddenly, an unknown white car drove into the building at full speed, causing a commotion and forcing everyone to cover their heads with their hands. Taking their hands off their heads, Li Yingwang noticed that it was their car. A guy came out of the car and said that there were some problems with their car and then pointed a gun at him. Ignoring the armed men, he continued to explain the problems with the car. Li Yingwang looked at the guy with a twinkle in her eye, and then he said hello to her, calling her Firefly. Looking at the man who fell from the sky, Li Yingwang harbored the hope that he would save them. Che Taeyin immediately demanded an explanation from the arrival, after which Che Gahan ordered him to be killed. Chen was attacked from behind by a guard with a bat, but he couldn't hit the intruder because he was too fast. Then he was kicked in the neck, which broke his spine, and fell dead. Everyone got worried when they saw this, but Che's brothers immediately ordered the guards not to stand idly by and kill him. the guards altogether attacked Chen armed with knives, but almost instantly they were all killed. After seeing the intruder brutally deal with their subordinates, Principal Ha and the Che brothers could not utter a word. After all, this schoolboy had slaughtered all their guards. When Ha Zhonghee and Che Gahan were shocked, they told Ken Hoon to kill the brat because he was an elite soldier. Whereupon, the latter walked out to the intruder and stood in a fighting stance with a knife. Chen's response was to drop the briefcase, then sighed and said that he was the second person to show the knife, and asked if he knew what happened to the first one. Ken Hong lunged at the intruder with the knife, demanding that he stop talking nonsense, while trying to stab him in the neck, but he dodged the knife and the kick, causing him to hit the car. Realizing that he was not so simple, Ken Hong began a series of stabbing, from which Chen was able to dodge without problems. After dodging the series of blows, Chen told Ken Hong that he had had enough of jokes, and then attacked him, knocking his knife hand away with his left hand and hitting his neck with his right hand. After that, Ken Hong's whole life flashed before his eyes, for his opponent had a blade in his hand. Showman Chen had insulted Ken Hong by displaying the murder weapon. Seeing his best guard killed, Director Ha immediately turned around and started to run away, but unwilling to let go, Chen picked up a briefcase and threw it at the fleeing man, knocking him down. Bricks fell out of the briefcase. Ha Zhonghee saw this and looked at Chen, to which he said that Ha Zhonghee would be next. Not wanting to die, Ha Yinghee grabbed Li Yingwang, who was next to him, and held a knife to her neck, demanding that Chen let him go. Seeing her crying, Chen asked her if she was afraid, then told her not to be afraid, giving her hope. Chen decided to use one trick, although he hadn't practiced with it yet, but he had no choice, after which he snapped his fingers. After snapping, Chen concentrated and mystical blue energy began to emanate from him. Suddenly Ha Zhonghee panicked. He couldn't move, feeling as if he was enveloped by something. Chen approached him with a threatening look, then said that Ha Zhonghee was the third person who showed him the knife. Grabbing the knife, Chen took Li Yingwang from his opponent's grip, then plunged the knife into his chest, and touched his forehead, knocking him to the ground. Chen touched Li Yingwang's face and asked her if she was scared anymore, then told her not to be afraid, because he promised that he would get rid of her nightmare. 2 hours later, Li Yingwang's house. Li Yingwang opened her eyes abruptly and jumped up to find that she was in her home. Standing nearby, Chen explained to her that she had fainted because she was too scared. Then he finished the chicken soup while enjoying it. Chen asked Li Yingwang to give him back the sweater she was covered with. He explained to her that he had covered her with the sweater because he was afraid she would freeze. Then she clung to it. Chen decided not to wake her up, so he left her alone. Li Yingwang tried to say something while clutching the sweater, but Li Yingwang pulled with the words that it was his clothes, embarrassing Li Yingwang. Stashing the sweater in her briefcase, Chen said that, heating up some chicken soup in case she was hungry. He then said that her brother was injured, but her mom had already taken care of him and given him medicine, then discussed the incident with Chen. Chen said that later she would tell everything about what had happened, and advised her not to call the police, because he had already fixed all the problems. Chen then reached out his hand to Li Yingwang's face. Grabbing Chen's hand, Li Yingwang asked him why he was talking as if he was older than her, since he looked about her age. Chen asked her if she was scared today. After all, such scenes. Then he remembered that he didn't have much time left, so he wouldn't be able to take care of her, and that he didn't want something like that to happen to her again. Li Yingwang was told not to be afraid, to which she said she wasn't afraid. But who is he to talk to her like that? What happened tonight? And why did he say he came down from heaven? To which Chen laughed, putting his hand on her head, and said not to ask so many questions. Her mom will tell her everything. Chen added that her mom would be angry because he used unconventional methods to put her to sleep, and her brother was so angry that he had to be tied up. Then he pulled Li Yingwena's ear and shouted for her to study hard, stop using foul language, and not to get tattoos because she would regret it later. Finally, he added that she shouldn't drink or smoke. The embarrassed Li Yingwang replied that she would remember these words, and then asked what was the name of her savior. Chen poked her in the forehead with his finger and said that children nowadays ask too many questions, and then he got up from the couch. Seeing this, Li Yingwang asked if he was going to leave. He said yes and asked if he was going to stay here until the new year. Then Li Yingwang asked if he was a human or an angel. Chen replied that he doesn't believe in God, he only believes in his older brother Guan. Suddenly a noise was heard from the suitcase on the floor. Chen kicked it, telling it to shut up, and Li Yingwang asked what was inside the suitcase. To which Chen replied that Ha Yunj was locked inside. Putting the briefcase on his shoulders and taking the suitcase by the handle, Chen said goodbye and was about to leave, when suddenly Li Yingwang grabbed his sleeve. After a short pause, she asked if she would see him again. Hearing this question, Chen asked if she liked fireflies. Li Yingwang smilingly started to tell that she liked them. Her brother used to take her out in the summer to catch them. Chen used his power to put her to sleep, then he caught her falling body and told her not to catch them anymore. Li Yingwang dreamed Chen was moving away from her. She reached out to him with pleas for him not to leave. Then she woke up abruptly, realizing that he was really gone. Li Yingwang ran to the study and started to write down Chen's words. "You can't start drinking." After writing it down, she tried to remember what else he told her. Suddenly, she remembered that she should trust her elder brother Guan. Li Yingwang wondered, who is Guan? Then she remembered about the clothes. Drawing the character she saw, Li Yingwang guessed that it could be Chinese. After realizing that it was indeed Chinese, Li Yingwang remembered that there was a Chinese dictionary in her brother's study. Then she immediately ran to look for it on the bookshelf. Someone was watching from the window. After finding the dictionary, Li Yingwang began to translate the text. Jiangning was the name of the place where the Jiangning mansion was located in Jinling City. Bound and hanging outside the window, her brother was trying to draw her sister's attention to himself so that she could save him. But after realizing that she couldn't see him, he resigned himself to hanging there for a while longer. Ha Jiangyi's secret residence in Seoul. Chen opened the suitcase containing Director Ha, whereupon he sobbed and began to ask who he was. Chen grabbed Ha Jinghe's leg without ceremony and dragged him to a room where there was a safe behind a closet. Chen offered to make a deal. Upon hearing about the deal, Director Ha asked if they would let him go after that. Chen replied that he would let him die with dignity. Director Ha questioned, not knowing what he was talking about. Chen said that he would be able to choose any clothes from the closet that he thought would be decent before dying. As Ha Jinghe started sobbing, he immediately started begging not to be killed. For this he was willing to give everything he had. After which, he hit his head on the floor in a bow. Chen demanded the director to open the safe. He started begging to be released and offered to take the ledger from the safe. Chen took the book and then said that he was not interested in the machinations of the director, and threw the diary near him. Instead, he took the money, saying that he just needed money for food. After stuffing the briefcase with money, Chen noticed a picture of the principal near a boat. He grabbed the principal by the hair and asked if the boat was his, and what is its maximum speed. When he heard that the boat's maximum speed was 30 knots, he added that he wanted the money as well. Director Ha said that under that condition, Chen would let him go, and he agreed. After a while, Chen enjoyed the boat ride while singing a song about dogs. A few hours ago, aboard the ship, 2 men were chained to a barrel. One of them shouted that Chen had probably mistaken him for someone, wondering why he was to be killed. Sobbing beside him, Director Ha resigned himself to his fate. Chen explained that it wasn't a mistake, because when his friend's daughter had taken refuge with him during her escape from the bandits, he had abused her. The shackled man asked what his interlocutor was talking about. After all, he did not understand what he was talking about. Chen said that the Lord of Hell will explain everything to them after they go down, toppling the barrel into the water, sending the prisoners to the bottom of the sea. Chen said he almost forgot that he was Yanlo, Lord of Hell. Chen's nose was bleeding and he said that he should use his powers more carefully, because there would be consequences if he spent too much power. After wiping it off, he started playing an imaginary guitar and singing a song about dogs. Then he gave the middle finger to the god. Yan Ban School Auditorium. The teacher announces the last joint activity at Yan Ban School, warning the students that they should all attend it. Meanwhile, Sun Kuku sitting in the auditorium was thinking about the fact that she hadn't seen Chen for 4 days. Teacher Li lit a cigar with the thought that if any of the students were absent, both the student and the teacher would be severely punished. Then he grabbed his head, cursing himself for being too obsessed with money. Stubbing out his cigar, he thought that next time he would definitely deal with Chen. Suddenly, he saw someone stealthily approaching him. It was Director Fong who was leading their group. Principal Fong asked Li if he had told him that the student named Chen would show up soon, because he should have come half an hour ago. Fearful of the disclosure, Teacher Li replied that Chen had gone to play at an internet cafe, reminding the principal that boys his age like to play computer games. Looking at his watch, Principal Fong warned the teacher that the event was still half an hour away, then added that he would gather teachers and students to look for Chen in case he was in trouble. He then started yelling at the teacher for not following the student and that he would punish him when he returned. Teacher Li had no choice but to assure the principal that the student was not lost. He then wished the departing principal a good journey. As soon as the principal walked away, the teacher began to insult him for thinking he was in charge while being the assistant principal. Clenching his fist, he looked up into the sky and asked, "Where is Chen?" Half an hour later, the principal asked the students if they had found any clues as to where Chen might be, to which Sun Kuku replied that they couldn't find him, while suggesting that they call the police. Thinking about it, the director realized that the police cannot call the police because he will be fired, and his future will go down the drain. Seeing the principal hesitate, Son Cuckoo repeated that the student was lost, asking why he was hesitating. The principal had no choice but to suggest that they continue the search without the police in case they missed something, to which Son Cuckoo continued to resent. Suddenly the principal remembered. He asked Teacher Lee, and who is Chen's neighbor, if Chen had mentioned any relatives or friends in the area, to which he replied that he didn't remember, while mentioning that Chen had left his luggage in the room. Hearing this, the director decided to check the luggage, hoping that it would contain a contact address. When the teacher came to the apartment, he took out the key and was about to open the door, pouring sweat. The principal shouted at him to hurry up, and he closed his eyes, preparing to insert the key. Suddenly the door boiled away. Opening his eyes, the teacher saw that someone was coming out of the room. Realizing that it was Chen, the teacher raised his face and rejoiced at the return of the student, trying to hold back tears. Seeing Chen, Son Cuckoo shouted and then embarrassedly covered her face with her hands, because he was wearing a towel. In Chen and Teacher Lee's room, Chen explained to the principal his absence by saying that he was at the game cafe. Upon hearing this, the principal pointed his finger at the student and started yelling at him for his lack of discipline and organization. Then he said that when he returned, Chen would be punished, and he would also have to write a book review while thinking about how a student should behave. Hearing this, Chen looked back at the teacher with a menacing look. Realizing what was going on, the teacher tried to calm the principal down, saying that their journey was almost over and that the event would start soon. Crossing his arms, the principal warned them that they were lucky as he had a lot to do today. Then he turned and left. Looking at the back of the departing principal, Teacher Lee told him that he would strictly deal with the student's education, and then he closed the door. Seeing that everything had gone smoothly, Chen told the teacher that they could still get along. Upon hearing this, the teacher yelled at the student for deceiving him, after which Chen took out his phone and as a sign of reconciliation, he deleted the recording made on the train. After deleting the recording, Chen offered to make peace with the teacher, saying that he could be trusted, to which the teacher called him a devil. That same night, Chen knocked on room 502. The door was opened by a neighbor, Son Cuckoo, who asked Chen what he wanted. Chen replied that he wanted to see Kiki. Hearing this, the neighbor's son Kiki said with a smile that Kiki was in the shower. Then they both looked at the door where the sounds of water could be heard. After checking the situation, Chen asked the neighbor to have Kiki go to the roof to see. Chen stood alone on the roof. Suddenly someone climbed up on the roof. Turning around, Chen told Kiki that the snow had finally gone. Chen asked Kiki to come up, then offered her a can of soda, but Kiki refused, saying she would get fat if she drank so late. Looking at Son Cuckoo's breasts, Chen said it would be nice, to which she embarrassedly replied that she hated him. After which she took a few sips of the drink. Chen told her that he was in a very good mood today because he had done something he had always wanted to do. Son Cuckoo suggested that he wanted to watch the snow together. Chen said that people say that life is full of regrets. Life is beautiful but difficult. After which he raised his fist to the sky and shouted that he was damn sorry. If there is a gap between the animate and inanimate world, it is only a matter of time. After all, they are hostages to their lives, ending by saying that he would take care of himself. Son Cuckoo thought about how handsome he was. After his words, Chen turned to Son Cuckoo and asked her to answer one question. Son Cuckoo was embarrassed and clutched the soda into her chest, then wondered if he was going to offer her strange things. The maximum that she would allow is to hold her hand, but no kisses, and if there is a kiss, then only not on the lips, because you cannot risk it. Chen then asked her to help write a book review, surprising Son Cuckoo. Principal Son's office. Principal Son sat in his office listening to the Frost news on the radio, while pondering what had happened to Kiki and her classmate the day before. Jinling train station. While getting off the train, Son Kiki twisted her leg, after which she was caught by Chen and they met eyes. Seeing this, Director Sun coughed and interrupted the two of them, whereupon Kukuku rejoiced at her father, saying that he had said he wouldn't come. Remembering that incident, Principal Sun stood up, thinking about whether his daughter could have fallen in love so early. Chen's classroom. Principal Sun looked around the classroom through the window before deciding to enter. Seeing the principal, all the students immediately began to wonder why he was here, whether he wanted to announce something interesting, or if someone from their class had made a mistake that would get them all in trouble. Chen, who had been dozing, noticed that the classroom suddenly became quiet. Then he looked up and saw Principal Sun, frightened of him. Principal Sun announced that during the snowfall, Teacher Wu had decided to go for a walk and was injured, and that he would be replacing her sometime. Taking out a pile of papers, he said that he had prepared a test for them to find out their level. Then he added that those who failed the test would have to shovel snow after class. After telling about the test, Principal Sun began to glare at Chen, making him feel like a target. After school, Chen was clearing the snow on the playground, wondering what he had done to offend the principal. Suddenly from behind him called Chen, running towards him with a broom. Chen asked what she was doing here, to which she replied that she had come to help him, holding out a container of water. This was watched in tears by Principal Sun, looking at them through the window and cursing Chen. On the second day, the principal ordered Chen to shovel snow after school. Chen said that he had passed the test, to which the principal replied that he had cheated from his classmates. On the third day, Principal Sun again ordered Chen to shovel snow. Chen asked why he had to do it since there was no test today, whereupon the principal said that Chen had not done his homework. On the fourth day, again Principal Sun told Chen to stay to shovel snow after school, to which Chen replied that there was no test today, and that he had turned in his homework. Hearing this, the principal asked him what year the 15th National Congress was held, to which Chen replied September 12 to 18, 1997. The disgruntled principal then asked how many people attended, to which Chen was again able to answer. Hearing this, the director asked a question to which no one could answer. On the fifth day, the principal burst into the classroom during the lesson, calling out to Chen, and resigned himself to his fate. Chen got up from his chair and picked up a broom. Seeing this, Principal Sun only wondered why he was taking out the broom, to which Chen replied that he was going to clear the snow. Looking sadly into the eyes of Chen, director told him that today to remove snow is not gentle. Then he said that Chen come to his office, Principal Sun's office. Upon entering the principal's office, Chen saw Principal Sun and a policeman who immediately greeted him. Director Sun introduced the policeman. It was Mr. Jing from Longtan Prison, to which Chen wondered what had happened. Jing explained to Chen that his mother Oshihua was currently undergoing rehabilitation in their prison, adding that because of her good performance last year, she had been approved to apply for a family visit. Afterward, he asked Chen why he doesn't come to visit her. Hearing this, Chen realized that this had happened before his rebirth, while he could understand why the former owner of the body had decided not to visit his mother. Seeing Chen's hesitation, Mr. Jing told Chen that his mother would like to see him and that she misses him very much, then asked why he didn't want to visit her. Looking at what was going on, Principal Sun thought about how hard and more difficult it was for Chen's soul, and then he stood between Chen and Mr. Jing, asking him to talk to the student, asking him to come back. Mr. Jing told him that family visits contributed to the ideological changes of the prisoners, hoping that Chen would understand. Hearing this, Principal Sun asked him to stop talking about it, as Mr. Jing was pushing the child too hard, then added that he would personally talk to him about it. Hearing this, Chen realized that the principal was actually trying to take care of him. Mr. Jing agreed with the teacher and left. Principal Sun immediately slammed the door with thoughts of how miserable Chen was, then sat down beside him. He said that he had read Chen's file to understand his family, and that he had learned a lot from Mr. Jing, but he didn't think that talking about it would be so hard. He called Chen a smart kid who could take care of himself, but he warned him not to burden himself mentally, and that he could always talk to him in times of need. After saying all this, Director Sun looked at his watch. Noticing that it was getting late, he suggested that Chen have dinner at his house. Sun Cuckoo was sitting on the couch watching TV and eating corn. Suddenly she heard the front door open. Cuckoo was excited about it, knowing that her father had to be back from work. But suddenly, from behind her father's back, Chen looked out to greet her. Sun Cuckoo was surprised to see him and threw away the corn and ran to her room. She thought about why Chen had come. Then she remembered that she was inappropriately dressed and eating. Chen looked at the door to Sun Cuckoo's room, thinking that she was cute. Only at this moment the teacher realized that he had made a mistake by bringing the wolf into his house. Principal Sun told Chen to change his shoes and go to the living room to do his homework. Then the changed Sun Cuckoo came out of her room confused and asked her father why Chen had come. Then he explained that he had invited him to have dinner, but before that they would do their homework. Realizing that they couldn't be seated together, Principal Sun sent Chen to the dining room and Kiki to the living room. Chen took out a sheet of paper and started writing a note. Seeing this, pondered that Chen was pretending and was actually not afraid of her father. Having finished writing the note, Chen rolled it into a ball and calling Sun Cuckoo, he threw the note on her desk. Reading the note, which said that Principal Sun was watching Chen, Cuckoo thought that Chen was waiting for her father's approval, to which she heard his mental response that she had gotten it all wrong. Distracted by the newspaper, Principal Sun got angry at Chen, pretending like he wasn't here. After a while, twisting another ball of paper, Chen signaled Sun Cuckoo and asked for the ball on the table. Chen asked what was wrong with her father, for he was reading a 2-day-old paper, which made Kiki laugh. Seeing this, the director realized that he could not stand it for long, because he called her 32 times, and Son Kukuku looked at him 57 times. Then he broke down and called out to Kuku, scaring her in the process. Principal Son warned KK that it was 8:30 and her mom must be late, so he would go out and get something to eat. On his way out the door he said he didn't want to see any more of this, and that he wouldn't let Chin come to their house anymore. After returning from the store, Principal Son made dinner and called the children over to eat. At dinner, he told them to raid the duck legs as they needed to eat healthily to grow up healthy. Son Kuku took a piece of meat with her chopsticks and wanted to put it in Chin's plate, but seeing her father's angry look, she giggled putting the piece in her father's plate. 3 hours later, dinner continued. Principal Son said that Chin should go home since he had already eaten, and that if he stayed here too long, it would be unsafe outside. Chin replied that he was used to walking at night, and asked Kuku for more. Seeing this, the principal shouted that Chin had already eaten, and no more refills, and then shoved him out the door. Wondering if he should worry about his relationship with his father-in-law, Chin headed for the exit. As he walked towards the exit, he saw a woman who looked like Son Kuku. That's it for today. So guys, if you liked this video and want part 2, leave a comment below with the word Isiok. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video, but most importantly, leave a comment. You can also write your manga choices in the comments for me to make a video about them. Until the next video.